Alright, fellas, it's been a minute since I've uploaded anything. Truth be told, I've become a little too important at work recently, and as a result, it's been making me want to use a computer even less now. I also finally watched and fully caught up with the show.
Mark, look, I made a mistake.
Mistake!
Yes.
Since my last video, I've beaten Bloodborne along with the DLC. I'm gonna hold off on giving my opinions of the game for now, but with that finally out of the way, all that's left for me as far as the Soulsborne games go is Demon's Souls, which I'm gonna play on my PS3, and Sekiro. That being said, I gotta get me some other games to play because if you ignore all of the games in my Steam library that I haven't played, I basically played every game in my Steam library. Now, I could just doom scroll the Steam page to see what looks good, but looks can be deceiving. So I turned to the next best thing, getting my friends to recommend games for me to play. And because I'm unimaginative, I'm gonna turn this into a series called Seeing If My Friends Have Good Taste. The name's still a work in progress. The rules are simple. I ask a friend to recommend a game to me, and I need to complete at least one blind playthrough of that game before determining whether or not my friend actually has good taste. Not sure if this counts as a rule or not, but the only information I can get on the game can come from either the Steam page or my friend who recommended the game. Not exactly sure if that conflicts with my rule of doing a blind playthrough, but fuck it, I at least gotta know what the game's about, right? Basically, I can't look up any guides or tutorials for the game, so if I get stuck, I gotta figure it out on my own. As for what counts as completing the game, I'd say that playing through the main story and making it to the end credit screen is good enough for me. I understand that games have secret endings that go beyond the main ending, but I don't think that's something I'd want to include in these videos since I'm gonna have quite a few games to play and it's gonna take a long time. Easy content aside, I also wanted to do this as a means to possibly explore new genres of games, as well as interact with my friends more and sort of go back to my roots of reviewing games. I'm actually really looking forward to this series and all of the games I'll be playing along the way. The first episode is dedicated to my good friend Ruru, who recommended that I should play Slay the Spire 2. According to her, you don't have to play the first game to understand the second, but I like playing games in order and the first one was on sale, so that's what I'll be playing. Obviously, I first had to check if it was compatible on Linux, which it is. I bought it and was amazed at the fact that it wasn't even a gigabyte when installing it, so the installation was very quick. But before I got to playing, I wanted to learn a little more about this game. According to the Steam page, this is some kind of card game roguelike, which... what the fuck is even that? Now, initially when I read that it's a roguelike, I wasn't sure what that meant for doing an actual playthrough because it's a roguelike, it just keeps going. I wasn't sure if they were gonna pull a God of War Ragnarok Valhalla where you get certain cutscenes after completing several runs, which is basically the story, but I said fuck it, I'm gonna play through it anyway. That being said, my goal was to play this game enough to the point where I can comfortably get through a typical run, or if after a certain point there's actually credits rolling. That's the metric I'm going to use for this game. I sincerely apologize to both Ruru and the Slay the Spire community if I missed anything important playing the game this way. Anyway, not to sound like a pro wrestler's theme song from the 2000s, but it's time to play the game. I'll admit, I forgot to update my OBS settings when I started playing, so the first portion you'll see here won't have any game audio. That's on me. My bad. Anyway, it took me a minute to get the display settings right, but once I finally got into the game, I had the choice of choosing a character. Except, I didn't actually have a choice. Doesn't even give me a description, and it doesn't even really give me a choice. What the fuck? I have to pick this one. Okay. I was then presented with the progression map, which had multiple paths that all lead to the boss fight at the end. The game conveniently includes a legend to show what each symbol on the map means, and this helped me pick my starting path. Of course, the game starts with a tutorial where I learn about how this card game works. Basically, each turn you draw 5 cards, each card takes energies to use, and cards can range from attack to defense and other special effects. Also, each turn you can see the enemy's intentions for what they're going to do to you that turn, and based off of that and what you have in your hand, you can set up your turn to attack enemies, defend from their attacks, and set up different buffs and debuffs. At the end of your turn, all of the remaining cards in your hand get discarded. There are two piles of cards, the draw pile and the discard pile. You can take a peek at which cards will come up next in your draw pile, which can help you decide what to do in your current turn as well as set up for the next one. Once all of your cards get discarded, they go back into your draw pile. In the tutorial fight, I learned the basics of attacking and defending as well as how the piles work. After winning each fight, you get rewards such as new cards, items, and currency which can be spent at merchants throughout your run. Speaking of merchants, that's who I ran into next. You can skip them if you want, but I had some coins and wanted to expand my deck, so I decided to buy some stuff. I ended up buying the Impatience card, which takes 0 energy to use, and allows me to draw 2 cards when I have no attack cards in my hand. It was really the 0 energy cost that made me buy this card, but I actually ended up using it quite a bit. After stopping by the merchant, I slimed out some slime, and then fought a racist cultist. Hey, that's fucking racist. I fought another hooligan, and at this point I thought I was getting a hang of this game. Until I wasn't. These triangle fuckers here gave me a bit of a hard time because they kept on spamming that stupid ability where they flood my deck with those unplayable cards, which led to multiple hands being duds basically. Yeah, I won, but damn, that was close. I then got to a bonfire, which is also a resting point in this game. Very nice. Over here, you can rest up as well as visit the blacksmith, and since I decided to rest, I had no clue what the blacksmith did. Then for the next encounter, I went with the question mark to see what it was. Initially, I thought it was just gonna randomly pick one of the other encounters, but it actually ended up throwing me into something different. As you make your way down a long corridor, you see a banana, a donut, and a box floating about. No, upon closer inspection, they are tied to strings coming from holes in the ceiling. There's a quiet cackling from above as you approach the objects. What do you do? Banana, heal 30 HP. Donut, max HP plus 5. Box, obtain a relic. I mean, me personally, even if we ignored the effects of each, I'm taking that banana. After my daily dose of potassium, I trekked into the next encounter, which was free treasure, and then I had another random encounter. For this one, I decided to upgrade a card because why not? I had a few more easy fights, but then I fought a Bloodborne character which bombarded me with debuffs and made me have to reconsider my strategy. It was a close run. We traded blows. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, but in the end, I lost. The worst part is that I got it down to 1 HP. And that marked the end of my first run. Could I have done better? Of course. However, I learned a lot and I was having a bit of fun in the process. Now it was a matter of actually making some progress through getting better cards and overall improving my strategy. I told Ruru about my first run while trying not to ask any questions to stay true to the blind playthrough, and according to her, I had a lot more to do. So let's not waste any more time and get into it. My second run was way better. I unlocked a new character from the last run. What the fuck is this? But I decided to go with the same character I used before. As soon as the run started, I ran into a new encounter. This whale guy who offered me the choice between having all enemies in the next 3 encounters be at 1 HP, essentially guaranteeing I make it through 3 stages, or increase my maximum HP by 8. I figured that since the first 3 encounters were going to be pretty easy anyway, I'd just go for the extra HP. During this run, I paid closer attention to the enemy intentions for each turn so that I could be smarter with the cards that I play. I also ran into some more random events which were honestly pretty funny, like this one where they asked me if I want to pull an Indiana Jones by taking the golden idol at the cost of triggering a trap. I never actually did it, so I don't know what the trap was. Me personally, I like these random events. They're a fun way to change up a current run without being some kind of special boss fight or loot chest. And so far, the effects from them haven't been game breaking, which I think is great. In this run, I also paid attention to the cards I was picking up after each encounter rather than just grabbing whichever card did the most damage. Now I say that, but one of the cards I picked up was literally just big burst damage. I also got to try the smith option at the first bonfire I went to. Yeah, you can upgrade your cards throughout a run, which is pretty cool since you can get a decent card pretty early on and make it even better as you progress throughout the run, rather than having to rely on just getting better cards. Once I upgraded my card, it was time to have a rematch with the Bloodborne boss that took me out last time. Little does it know, I don't suck this time, so I made quick work of it. I'll admit though, I don't think I made the best use of the shops whenever I encountered them. Reason being that I only really considered the cards that the merchant had for sale and completely disregarded the additional items. But that didn't really matter because I managed to steamroll my way to the boss of Act 1. This thing. From what I was able to gather, it had an attack and defense mode, nothing too crazy though. I really just paid attention to when it would attack and planned my defenses accordingly. I even managed to take advantage of one of my cards, where whenever I get attacked, the enemy takes damage. I want to say that this fight was close, but I actually just used my brain this time and chipped away at the boss's HP until I beat it. This boss clearly doesn't know that I beat pre-patched Consort Radahn. Now you'd think that's it, the run's over, I can take a little break and go play some Blockuza 3 because I'm too broke for the Kiwami version. Nope, it keeps going. They put me straight into Act 2. But that's okay because I steamrolled that too all the way to the boss, and would you look who it is? The Pursuer from Dark Souls 2. And guys, I have some bad news. I lost. Yeah, I'm fucked. Fucking Dark Souls boss, I swear to God. It's the Pursuer. I'm fighting the fucking Pursuer. Oh shit. Yeah, it's over. I'm fucking dead. Damn. GG's, man. GG's. Not bad, though. Honestly, I was already dumbfounded at the fact that I made it to the Act 2 boss in my first try. I obviously tried to win, but I had a feeling that I'd fall short, which is okay because of how good the entire run turned out to be. And according to my friend, there's more. Not gonna lie, it was at this point where I thought I was starting to get the hang of the game. My better understanding of the cards made me try new things such as removing cards from my deck in order to get rid of some clutter. I don't know, it felt like it was working. I mean, I did manage to get back to the Act 2 boss fight where I once again got clapped. For my next run, I decided to try out the other character I unlocked, mostly because you have to do a run with that character to unlock the next one. It was really just a trial and error run because I had no clue how this character was supposed to be played. She seemed similar to the first one, but had attacks that could poison enemies, which came in pretty handy. Too bad I couldn't get to experience more of that though because I couldn't even make it through the Act 1 boss with her. Doesn't matter because completing the run with her, win or lose, I unlocked one character that really helped my journey through this game take off. I'm of course talking about Ballsman. No, seriously, that's what my friend calls this character. The Defect is a robot that does stuff with orbs, not that I knew what that meant when I did my first run with it, but I learned really quickly because... What even is this character? In my first run with the Defect, I made it all the way to the Act 3 boss fight. But did I win? Fuck no. Of course, I told my friend about it, and I know she did a lot more than just giggle when I told her I got clapped by the boss. But that don't matter because I'm actually having fun playing a card game. I did a few more runs which were alright, but not as good as my first, which is something that I've gotten used to after fighting a ton of FromSoft bosses. After a few mediocre runs, I finally had another good run where I made it to the Act 3 boss again. This time, I was fighting a rotten donut and a block of jello. Up to this point, I was playing really well, and I thought that I had this fight in the bag. Yeah, no, I lost again. But I was definitely feeling confident now going into further runs because I had a character that was working for me. Until it wasn't. I don't want to blame bad RNG for my shortcomings because I did enough of that when playing Destiny, but it really felt like I was getting shafted on some of these runs. It felt like the game was deliberately giving me attack cards when I needed to defend and defense cards when I needed to attack. There's a ton of runs which I don't even have footage for because they were just chopped like me. I'll admit some of these runs looked very promising, and then in typical Souls fashion, the enemies decided to start cheating! I would like to apologize to those wearing headphones, but it don't change the fact that those enemies started fucking cheating. Then there were other runs that were just abysmal dog shit. The problem was that I kept trying to go for certain builds with the defect. I figured that this character's thing was generating orbs, so I opted to get cards that would help with that. Then I started to notice that this character actually has a lot of cards that cost 0 energy, along with cards that help you put more 0 energy cards into your hand. So I tried to get cards centered around that. Regardless of what I tried, nothing seemed to work. I honestly didn't know what to do, and was starting to think that I couldn't actually complete a run. Upon telling my friend about it, she suggested that I try a different class, and I honestly considered it for a moment. Then I started to look back at my first run as the defect, where I knew little to nothing about the character, spammed whatever cards I thought were good, and somehow, with no strategy in mind, I made it to the Act 3 boss. In other words, I didn't give a fuck. And not giving a fuck was enough for me to make it to the last boss on my first try. So with that said, I ignored my friend's advice to try another character, forgot about any kind of deck building, and started not giving a fuck. I also decided that since I can consistently get through Act 1 with ease now, that's where I'll fight as many elites as I can since they drop more loot. As usual, I had some mixed runs, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, but then it finally came. The run where my RNG wasn't shit. Why not? Why not? Nope. Oh my god, we're gonna get to 100 block. All because of one good relic. That's insane. Now we'll do this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch it. 100 block. And then we'll just whack this guy to death. This was indeed a run. I got so many cards centered around orbs, along with the Calipers relic, which made it so that each turn I lose up to 15 block rather than all of my block. Because of this one relic and stacking many frost orbs, I was able to reach 100 block in a single turn, basically making me immune to damage. On top of that, I had plenty of cards to generate more orbs, along with Capacitor to let me hold more orbs, and Defragment to boost my focus, which buffs the effects of my orbs. I even had cards like Electrodynamics, which allowed my lightning orbs to hit every enemy instead of randomly choosing one. Aggregate, which paired with my big deck gave me extra energy for my turn. And Apotheosis, which upgrades my entire deck for the remainder of the fight. This build basically allowed me to snowball the Act 3 boss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does that kill him? Oh my god. One-on-one now, motherfucker. No way I choke, right? Let's go. And with that, I finally completed my first run of Slay the Spire. It took me 27 hours to get here, but I finally did it. And then this happened. What the fuck? A deep pulsing dread can be felt throughout the room. Is this the heart of the spire, the source of this evil? Ah, fuck. Charge your core to its maximum. We do a fuck ton of damage to him. It bleeds, ultimately still pounding. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Delta total of 781 damage to the heart. A total of 14,636,643,707 damage has been dealt by all who've challenged it. How the fuck did you find that number? The heart pulses louder and louder as your consciousness fades. Oh, okay. Oh. Really? Yeah, I gotta fucking do it again? Fuck you, game. Yeah, there's more. But I did make it to the credits, so that means I beat the game. I even got an achievement for beating the game as the defect. Now I'm guessing that the heart is the true ending for the game, but like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm not gonna do all of that because I reckon that's gonna take a lot of time. Once again, I'd like to apologize to all of the Slay the Spire players out there if my decision upsets you. However, I'd like you all to know that I really enjoyed this game. I like this game so much that in my spare time, I've completed runs with the Ironclad and the Silent, which unlock the ability to reach the heart fight. And although I haven't gotten there yet, I've also been trying out the Watcher, where I discovered that she's just the most broken character in the entire game. Just look at this real quick. I have discovered the infinite. I have discovered the tech. I will now use this to cheese the entire game. What in the actual fuck is this? Comrade. Oh my god, that's so fucking good. This shit ain't even fair. Overall, I've clocked in nearly 60 hours, and honestly, this is something that I see myself coming back to, not just to get the secret ending, but also just to play because of how much I really like the game. When Slay the Spire 2 goes on sale, I am definitely going to pick it up. So yes, I really liked this game, and my friend Ruru definitely has great taste. I will say that there were times where I got pretty frustrated with just how bad my RNG was for several runs, but I'm just gonna chalk that up as one of those things that comes with these card games. I liked that there was a bit of a learning curve for each character and that there's no one guaranteed way to win, unless you're on the Watcher. I don't want to be too picky with this game since it's the first proper deck building game I've ever played, but it would have been nice to have maybe one or two more characters to mess around with. Apparently, the second game does have more characters, which just gives me another reason to play it. Not sure if Slay the Spire is a good game to get into deck building games, but it's how I got into them, I guess. Who knows what my other friends will have me playing in the videos to come. Until then, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.